Okay, it's 2:01. It's time to get started. Welcome you all. Thank you very much for taking time to join us this session. The topic is data quality management, a starter's quick guide. My name is Wei Zakharov, assistant professor of library science, engineering information specialist from Purdue Libraries and School of Information Studies. Now I will let my co-presenter introducing herself.
Hi, my name is Sarah Huber, and I'm an assistant professor of library science and an engineering technology information specialist within the Purdue Libraries and School of Information.
For this session, we would also like to thank Mr. Ed Dung, Video Production Manager, helping and facilitating Zoom, which is the teleconferencing solution we are using. Okay, let's move to next slide. Let me move my mouse. Okay, here we go. Agenda. First, we will provide a bit contextual information about this topic. So how was this developed? Then we will get down to the essential portion, central issues around dataset quality management. And how we are going to do that, rather than telling you all the answers, we will practice together, breakout room, smaller group activity. So hopefully, through the exercise, you could develop a better understanding and the learning, and short-term memory, forget later on. We hopefully, it could be successfully transferred into your long-term memory. Another reason we want to do an interactive activity is also for you to get to know a few Purdue alumni sharing the same interest. I mean, we are all working professionals, right? So each brings in rich work experience and let's get connected and learn from each other. And after that, techniques and tools will be provided and demoed. You could add in your tools box. At the end, there are some best practices. And during our presentation, you can post the questions in the chatting box. So where to locate chatting box is, move your mouse over the bottom of the screen. You will see an icon, a dialog icon, chat. So click chat, and then it will open up chatting box. You can post the questions there. So I'm sharing a screen, and Professor Huber will monitor the chatting box. And also, she is posting the link of our presentation. So it has been shared already. You can just go to chatting box and click a link and having access to this presentation. Okay. I don't know if I need to admit people joining us now. Okay, first, found out, where most of you work. What type of organization do you work in? Mr. Dung, could we do the polling question now? Let's give 30 seconds for you to respond, and we can see the results together. Okay, so now we can see majority work in higher education, and one retired. And welcome joining us. Let's stop sharing results, and I'm turning over to Professor Huber for contextual information. Thanks for participating.
Thank you, Wei. Are you going to advance the slide?
Yes.
Thanks. Okay, so just a little bit of history of our project that led us to present this topic to you today. In 2018, Wei and I participated in an internally funded grant that gave us the opportunity to collaborate with a couple of other departments on campus, philosophy and electrical and computer engineering, to build what we called a modular class. So it had 3 sections, and we each taught a section, and that made up one 3-credit course. So what that looked like was the students would go to class 1 day of the week, and it would be delivered by philosophy, and they would talk about the ethics of data collection, such as a case study on the Facebook Analytica story. And then another day of the week, they would go to libraries, and we would try to teach a related topic, such as methods for gathering data. And then the third day of the week, they would go to electrical and computer engineering class, where once they have some data collected, or we help them locate it online, they would learn methods to analyze the data. And then, just some other topics within that course that we taught. And again, it was a semester-long course. We talked about the data lifecycle, tips for data cleaning, tips for visualizing data, how to publish data. And then what we found to be a really important topic was the data quality management. And that's what led us here today.
So data quality management, it is an important aspect of data science. We've all heard garbage in, garbage out. If the data collected, the quality is poor, the decisions we make informed by the data will be misleading. So this is a general public session, right? We assume some of you are not data professionals. Just curious, type a few words in the chatting box and let us know when it comes to data quality management DQM, what do you think first? Let's give 1 minute and think about it and just type a few words in the chatting box. We see what you think first.
Just first words that come to mind. Nothing too complex. Okay, bar graphs, misinformation, clean data, COVID data, poor statistics. Yep, these are all excellent.
Okay. Thanks for participating. So now let's find out what data quality management is. First, data quality. Data is generally considered high quality if it is fit for its intended uses in operations, decision-making, and planning. So we are talking about fitness of the data. And DQM is a set of practices. It provides contextual specific process. So you also need context information to describe data well in order to accurately analyze data and interpret data. And we always talk about data lifecycle, starting from data planning, data acquisition, to data cleaning, data analysis, data visualization, and then later on to distribution of data, archiving, sharing, publishing of data, the whole data lifecycle process. DQM goes hand in hand with this data lifecycle process. And typically, it requires a managerial oversight of the information. Next, given what we've introduced, and you think how confident are you practicing data quality management? This question is designed, we want to find out our attendees, like your skills level. Mr. Dang, could you show the polling question? Okay, here we go. How confident are you practicing DQM? Let's see where you are at. Couple more seconds. Thank you. 2 selected not confident at all, and 4 chose somewhat confident. So as we mentioned earlier, this session is for starters, and you are in the right session. And later on, we will go through some techniques and tips you can use. So good to know. Let's move to next. In this slide, we use business, for example, and talking about the importance of DQM. So bad data leads to bad business decisions. The data shown here in this slide done by Data Warehousing Institute, DWI. They conducted a survey with over 270 senior executives. So the estimate is the cost of bad or dirty data exceeds $600 billion for US annually. Almost half, like 46% of survey respondents cited data quality as a barrier for adopting BI, business intelligence, business analytics products. So it's obvious we can see data quality has become one of the most pressing challenges to data management. And now let's practice and we will see why it's like this, how complicated it could become. So this is the practice data sheet, very simplified version, a company's employee information. So we track information like employee's first name, last name, education, country code. Obviously, it's a multinational company. Area code, office phone, office street, city, distance, from their housing to the office, zip code, salary, marital status. So how we are going to do this is, we can do, couple breakout rooms, given the number of attendees. And Professor Huber is sharing the link in our chatting box for you to access the provided data sheet. So please go ahead and click the link, open the data sheet, because once you enter breakout rooms, you will lose connection with the chatting box in the main meeting room, so you will not have the link. And we design a few prompts questions for your group to discuss. Before we were thinking, maybe it's better for me and Professor Huber to stay in the main meeting room. So whatever discussed in your breakout room, it will not be recorded. And you, again, will be randomly assigned into a room. Let me see how many attendees. So we might have, let me think. How about like this? We do one breakout room only, and presenters will stay, and also Ms. Adam will stay in the main meeting room, and rest of you will be sent to that separate breakout room, and we will not record it. And we trust you all are working professionals, depending on your comfort level. If you have camera, you can choose to turn it on. And if you don't have a microphone, please also try to participate by typing your thoughts, your answers in your breakout room chatting box. Any questions before we go ahead the breakout room activity? So if you have any questions, please type in the chatting box, because once you go to breakout room, you will not see us. So Professor Huber, do you see any questions before we go ahead to start the activity?
No, no questions.
No questions. Okay, Mr. Dang, how about yes?
I just said, great, everyone's ready.
Okay, great. So Ms. Dang, let's go ahead to set up one breakout room and just assign all the attendees into that room. And in the provided data sheet, you scroll down, you will see all the prompts questions. So share your name, your organization, how and what do you work with data, and what interests you about this session. Most important thing is what problem do you see in the provided data sheet. And also please select a shepherd in your room to help facilitate a lively discussion where everyone has a chance to talk. Mr. Dang, we are ready. Welcome back. So how was your group discussion? Did you enjoy the conversation?
It was fun.
And what's more important,
did you?
Cool. And did you get a chance to talk with some people you didn't know before?
Not really. We all
Oh,
seem to know each other.
this is a small word. Well, here is a good opportunity, right? Talking about specific DQM topic, and we can get to talk.
Very true, Wei. Very true.
Okay, so glad to hear you had a nice conversation. And let me just quickly point out some issues your group might have already identified. Again, this is not going to be exhaustive like a list. So for me, taking a look at this provided data sheet, one thing I noticed, education column, right? Some use college. And then here I see bachelor. So are they the same? If they are the same, right, you need to handle the data consistency issue. If they are not the same, right, there should be a document about metadata, data description, and telling you the differences. And then go to next column, office phone. I see the first record is showed now. And however, when you scroll down and you see several missing blanks, so missing data always need to be handled. Move to next. I also noticed that this one, the record Rick Stark, is kind of like a mismatching, right? Here shows country code, a different. However, here shows it's NYC, the same like from country code in the United States. So this is error record, needs to be flagged and for further investigation. And next, let's say, for example, column zip code, and you can see, for example, take West Lafayette 47906. This is just simple digit numbers. However, in another record, you see NG and then star digit numbers. So again, not consistent. And when you move to next, this is a multinational company, right? So what's the unit used here, salary? Are you talking about US dollars? Are you talking about the United Kingdom pound, right? It needs to be specified. So flagged and corrected. And I believe many of you have good eyes. So we intentionally, when we design this data sheet, we also inserted one duplicated records. So you will always see duplicated records, and that need to be handled as well. So just from a very simplified version of the data sheet, we see so many problems. And when Professor Huber and we taught in the class, we shared this data sheet with students, and they asked, was in reality data that messy? So before we responded, other students turned around and said, yeah, I did internship. I was a data engineer intern. And then I was given the data. It was this messy. So in reality, we do see always data could be dirty and messy. So given what we have discussed, here is a quick summary of the issues you can look to check data quality, such as data consistency, duplication, so data uniqueness, data accuracy. So you think sometimes, it could be easy maybe for this data sheet. But currently I'm working with one COVID-19 group, and some attendees also responding in the first question, right? So what do you think first when it comes to DQM? So COVID-19 data, like one data could be, right, desktop. That's unfortunate thing, but we do need to count. So if that one, the answer is yes or no, death, that's easy. However, when you spend a few seconds thinking further, the next follow-up question could be cause of death, right? And that's going to be much harder to accurately capture data. So depending on your questions, depending on the type of data you collect, it could be tricky and difficult to accurately capture data. Next, information completeness. We talk about fitness of the data, intended uses. So the data you collect, do you have enough to address your questions? Next one, data currency, right? If sometimes outdated data will not do you good. And when these data issues intertwine with each other, interacting, that's going to become even more complicated. So a quick review: consistency, deduplication, accuracy, completeness, and currency. In this slide, this is another study done with more than 1,400 business professionals. So the primary issues about DQM included incomplete or missing data. So 60% respondents said this is number one, followed by outdated information, duplicate data, inconsistent data, and typos. So by the way, human error is still the most common cause of inaccurate data at organizations. Now we know how complicated this is, and are there some techniques and tips for us to quickly check for data quality? We are moving to the next section, tools and tips. First, we would like to introduce two checklists. The first one is called Data Quality Checklist, published by Open Data Institute. So they break down this into two categories, form and quality. Under each, there's a list of questions you and your organizations could quickly check, see how well you maintain your data quality. Next is a data credibility checklist. This study is done by my colleagues at Purdue University. And we say not necessarily every time you need to collect data yourself. There are lots of open access data. So for example, you can just go to Google Datasets search engine and do a keyword search. You can find lots of open access data and you download them. But from there, how are you going to quickly evaluate the quality of the open access data you downloaded, right? Are there some tools? This one, the checklist, has 5 key aspects. So content, authoritative source, format, quality control, and human machine readable. So under each, there are questions you can quickly check, see how well, the data credibility, what you just download, is that usable? And of course, on the other hand, if you have data and you are ready to publish, right, this data credibility checklist you can also use as a tool to see how well you organize your data, what information you need to put there to make it user-friendly for potential targeted users. These are two checklists. Next, we will do some tools demo. And we all know, there are so many data tools out there. Just name a few: R, Python, SAS, SPSS. And so, everyone uses could be some different data tools. We decide to go with the ubiquitous tool, Excel. Right? So
Hey, can I
everyone.
Wait,
yes.
So Katie asks a question before we move on to our demos. Can you give an example of interactions between data issues?
Okay, so let's go back talking about this one. And we can say, for example, missing data and data consistency, right? We say in one provided data sheet column, now, right, you see NULL and you see blank. So that's missing data and data consistency issue. And data accuracy, we see the record number 2. We talk about country code is 44. However, if you check a city, if you check a street, that's a different one. So this is how they intertwined. And data currency for this one even is we don't even see, let's say, any timestamp captured. We don't know when was this data sheet created. So how can you evaluate information completeness? What if, this was done 10 years ago and no timestamp captured. And then now we want to do a decision making for this year. So a timestamp missing could be also a quick way to judge information completeness. Does that answer your question? Really, so it depending on the intended uses. And when these issues intertwine, it could become more complicated.
She
Questions
says yes.
about this?
She just says yes, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let's move to next. Okay. Now let me switch my screen. Do a quick Excel demo. Okay. So this is the provided data sheet. First, best practice is this is your raw data, right? If you are going to do something about it, you might not want to do it on your raw data. So let's make a copy first. So what I'm doing, it will be here, and you can just double click processed. Okay, so when I take a look at this data, again, it's not going to be exhaustive list tips. I will see first education. Let's say you can go to data tab and then select the data, go to filter. And then this arrow down button, I can quickly check for this column, what are options here. So I do say bachelor, college. Assume, okay, they are the same. What you can do next is home tab, found and select, replace. So what you can do is found what? College and replace with what? Bachelor, for example. That's something you can do with found and replace. And this is not a complete database. Let's say I need to keep adding records. How can I prevent this is happening again? So many times for DQM, what you try to do is rather than being reactive, you want to be preventive. Another very useful tool I will say is here, data tab called data validation. So let's do data validation. This works with different types of data. And in my case, what I want to do is a list. So what list does is I've already determined what I want, people to enter in this column. So click enter button. Okay. So now, for example, if I need to enter more records, rather than tapping and whatever answers you might enter here, I limit you to only select from the given choices. So that's a quick way to avoid data inconsistency issue. Some other useful tips, for example, how to find missing data. So what you can do is go to home, found and select, go to special. First, let's select the data. Here, go to special, blanks, and you can see blank areas are highlighted. And there are some common techniques handling missing data. First, in some cases, you can just delete missing data records. And in some cases, people might say, let's say average. And in our case, and what you can see is MH, right? It's office phone. So you can locate another MH and fill the blank. And for 9, it's again data inconsistency. It also needs to be entered. That's another way to handle missing data. There are some other common techniques in statistics, you can calculate and missing data, fill up the blank. So different ways and also depending on your purposes. Another one could be very helpful is, data duplicates. So let's say this is our data. we want to do a quickly check, see if there are any duplicates. You can go to Data tab, remove duplicates. By default, all fields are chosen. And you can click OK. In our case, it's one duplicate values and removed. And certainly, there are lots of functions you can use in Excel to help with data quality checking and fixing. So now, let me stop sharing my screen, and Professor Huber will do another quick demo.
All right, thank you. All right, so as you can see and what we know about Excel, it's very powerful, but you'll also hear another tool called Open Refine. And within our presentation is a link. If you haven't used it, many people have, but if you haven't, it's offered by Google, it's open source, it's free, and it is very powerful. On the front page, you'll see videos for, introductory basic cleaning dirty data. Interesting term. And then there's a download. And the only thing I recommend is if you do download it is to follow their instructions on the download page. Because there are some little caveats to it, or details, I should say. When you do download it, I recommend you pinning it to your taskbar because it is hard to locate and pull up as needed. But as long as you have it in your toolbar at the bottom of the page here, once you click on it, you see this programming box come up. And then that tells Open Refine to open in Chrome, which takes, as you can see, it just takes about 20 seconds. And then once in Open Refine, you just choose a file. And I'm choosing this file of data I found online, trending YouTube video statistics. It's a massive, massive file with plenty of duplicates and errors and all kinds of stuff that needs cleaning. So yeah, once you choose a file, click next. I gotta move this box. And you'll see, it's a massive file. It moves pretty quickly, but there is a little lag time. All right, so as you can see here, there's usually how many boxes at the top. You'll see in each one of these rows, in order to work with them, we need this box that isn't here yet. We first have to create the project. And because there is so much we could demo, I'm sorry I didn't say this before. What I'm demoing is called clustering. And Wei and I talked to a number of people that work with, or a few people that work with Open Refine, and they recommended demoing this. That this is one of the more powerful features of Open Refine. So right now, I have, once I've created a project, I have the ability to work with each one of these rows through this drop-down arrow. So I'm going to start with title, and I want to see if there's any duplicates or just things spelled differently that are intended to be the same, somehow to clean this up. So I select facet, text facet. Yeah, it just takes a minute. And again, we're at 5,000 rows. It's not something you can just eye.
In the meantime, enjoying all the titles.
I know, racist Superman. I dare you're going bald. Yeah, there's some good ones.
Lots of Googling to do later.
Exactly. So what we've ended with is, we have 24,573 titles, and yikes, yeah, I'm not going to go through each of these. So I'm going to hit cluster. And look at how quickly, it is really powerful. It's broken down to a very manageable. I could eye each one of these and see, but at this point, I'm going to kind of trust it. It's pretty obvious, Marvel Studios, Avengers, Infinity Wars, it's the same, but just lower caps versus upper caps, etc. So I will select all, merge, select, and recluster. And this is where we could have that jazzy music come in from Ed, but hopefully this will pop up in just a couple seconds. Oh, thanks, Ed. Okay, we're good. We got it. Okay, so that you can see it's just a bit faded here. We've the number has gone down on the left, that we have clustered a number of them, and all that's recommended is in these key functions to go through each one of them. So we did print, and then I'd go to ngram, and now we've consolidated more. You know, in something like CD, maybe I want those to stay separate. So if I select it all, I just deselect that and then merge again and just work my way down. And that will really clean up your spreadsheet. And you can go through each one of those titles of the rows. And that's it, just a brief introductory of one tool you could be using, in addition or separate from Excel. Thanks. I hand it back to you, Wei, once I...
Okay.
There you go.
Let me share my screen. Switch. Okay. Let me see where we are at. Here we go. So we did a demo on Excel, open refine. Now at the end, this is a list of best practices, and you can go on and on. For example, your entire organization needs to be educated on the basics and value of data quality. There should be clear roles, expectations, and also choose data stores. The people who are doing data quality management well needs to be recognized. So if, let's say, your team, your organization doesn't really have an annual employee award on data stores, do it. And they're just going on all this best practice, and you can keep adding. So this is pretty much all we have for this presentation. At the end, bear with us, 2 more post-survey questions, and we will go with, we will take more questions. So Mr. Dang, we are ready for polling questions. We just talked about it. Who should be responsible for an organization's data quality? What do you think? Okay, thanks. As we mentioned earlier, right, so data groups are in the front line, dealing with data. But in terms of the whole organization data quality, it goes hand in hand with the whole data lifecycle. So pretty much, everyone in the organization should know basic and also the values of data quality and handling that. Let's move to the next question, the final polling question. At the end of this session, do you have a better understanding of how to assess data set quality? First, we talk about keeping the results ourselves, but after seeing your responses, we think we are too worried. Yeah, we are fine. And again, this is a very introduction session, right? There are lots of resources. For example, massive open online courses on this topic. There are like open education resources, OER we call that. There are also some very good, even YouTube videos. If you are a Purdue employee, you also have access to LinkedIn Learning. There are lots of good free learning materials for us, professional development on this topic. So thank you so much for being with us. And now we are opening the floor for more questions.
I have an embarrassing one. I managed to get this far and never really learn Excel very well. I mean, I could fiddle with it a little bit, but I feel like I never really got grounded fully in it so that I could use it to the best of my ability. And you both seem pretty adept at it. How did you do that?
Way is the master.
Oh, I wouldn't claim I'm master. I mean, we are in the same boat. We keep talking about lifelong learning, and it's
Yeah,
so true. Another thing is about this software is they also don't stay the same.
yeah.
They keep revising, keep adding more functions. So that's just the way is you probably have to be prepare yourself for lifelong learning. But there are always, there's so many things you can do with Excel. There's no way for us to remember everything. So what I do for myself is if I know a specific function, like what I want Excel to do, I will do a quick, Google search. Just say, okay, how to make that happen. Or I also noticed that lots of good resources in YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yes, and so you can just do a quick search. And they also do typically very good job, like labeling, okay, at what minute, timestamp, and this is the function I'm going to talk about. But don't try to comprehend everything and learning from basic, like it doesn't add up. And
Okay.
quickly you will forget them.
Okay.
And there are even for people, let's say data professionals who are more serious about this topic, there are even, let's say, Microsoft data management certificate you can pursue. There are also MOOC courses like certificate you can pursue.
Okay.
I'm in the same boat, Stephanie. I don't feel I know as much as I should, but I like Way's advice where I've tried to just learn it out of context and it doesn't stick at all versus I'm working on something, I want it to do this, then I look it up.
Yeah. I could see myself starting a Linda class at least 20 times.
Same here.
Yeah, I like it.
It's dry stuff, it's just not that interesting.
You don't think it's riveting?
No, not until I really need it. Then I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Okay, I think time is up. We have our contact information listed here. So welcome to contact us if you have any questions or suggestions. And at the end, we wish you all stay healthy, be safe. And
Thanks
thank
for
you.
joining us.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.